As a Salesforce developer, I need my end users to be able to run Apex code. This is typically done through actions on a record page. These actions will perform things like syncing the record with a third-party system or creating a related record. In the past, I used a Visualforce page with a controller extension to execute code. While this looks ugly, it's been good enough. But recently, I was challenged on the best way to have users run Apex code. So I came up with a better method to package actions. And if you don't know who I am, my name's Justin. I've been a Salesforce developer for over 5 years, and I run this YouTube channel to help devs just like you. So for this method, I wanted to be able to use the toast system in Salesforce to send messages to users while the action was running. I wanted to not show this ugly blank pop-up screen while the action was running. And of course, I wanted to use Lightning Web Components. With those requirements out of the way, it became clear as to what I needed to use. Lightning Web Component Actions. So today, we are going to recreate this button that checks the database if the lead is in the open stage using Lightning Web Component Actions. So let's dive in on how to create them. So here I am inside of VS Code, and I created a Lightning Web component called check is open. Keep in mind that you need to use camel case, so the first letter is lowercase. So then what we're going to do is we're going to modify the XML. And here there are 3 things important to configure. So the first is we want to make sure the isExposed is set to true. Next, we want to have the target of the Lightning record action set. And finally, for a target config, we want to set the target for the Lightning record action to be the action type of action. Keep in mind, you need to do this before you go and create the action inside of Salesforce. With this, we gain access to the evoke event. So you can see here we have this invoke method. And this is only available when we are using this action type of action. From here, we can, of course, import the API, and we can go and get the record ID like how we normally do. Then what I like to do is I like to go and dispatch a toast that says that the action is running. So in this case, we can say that the lead check has started. And this way, the user has some sort of haptic feedback that they know that the button was clicked and things are working. Next, what we want to do is we actually want to get the data from an Apex controller. And so what we can do is we can create a class called check lead status controller. And what this is this is a class with a method called check is open, where we take in the lead ID as the parameter, and we ensure that this is Aura enabled. From here, inside a try catch loop, we can get the lead from the lead ID passed as a parameter. We can then go and return the lead status as equal to open not contacted, which is the open status for this org. One other thing I have configured in this controller is we have this checked lead status custom field, which we can set to true and update the lead. This is so we can showcase what this looks like with and without the refresh event, so we can actually make updates to the record without needing the user to refresh the page. So what we can do is we can import the method checkIsOpen by importing the controller.method. And then from here, we can actually just straight up call up this method inside our Lightning Web component. So what we'll do is when we're working with these, we pass in the object of parameters. So one of the parameters is lead ID. And so we'll pass this as the record ID. And then what we can do is use a promise chain to check the result and display the toast as needed. And then what we can do is we can say if the result, we'll go and dispatch a show toast event of a success. If it's not a success, we'll say the lead is not open with a variant of warning. And then we can also dispatch the refresh event using this syntax and ensure that we have this refresh event imported from Salesforce. And then finally, we need to have some sort of catch block that goes and errors if we somehow have an error in our method, right? So this would be much more useful in some sort of call out to a third party. In any case, we can go and deploy this. So then what we can do is we can create the action inside of Salesforce. So inside of setup, we can go to the lead object, and inside the buttons, links, and actions, we can create a new action. We'll select the Lightning Web Component, and we will select our check is open. So you can see here the subtype is action, and we'll just call this check is open. From here, we can go and add it to our page layout. So I will go and add it here. And if we go to our leads section, what we can see is that when we go to our lead, if we run check is open, we can see that the lead is open. And if we set this to working, we can see that the lead is not open. One final thing I want to showcase is the refresh event. So what we can do is we can uncheck this checked lead status field, and what will happen is if we press the action, then you can see that that checked lead status gets checked automatically because we're running this through the code. Now, if we go and remove this dispatch event, deploy this, so what you'll see when we refresh this page is that now when we go and run this, you can see that checked lead status isn't updated until we go and refresh the page again. With that out of the way, that has been how to run Apex code through a Lightning Web Component in a record action. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like.